First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shah, Bashem Kakwadash. I want to get double honors to the Apostle GMS that rules well. Peace, blessings, salutations to your Akim out there, pushing forth his truth and sincerity. And pretty much, this is Chicago Ra from GMS Virginia. And pretty much, this is Fresh and Fit, watching this earlier. And this guy Myron, he made a good point, which reminded me of the scripture when they talk Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter. And I'm going to let the video play.
So what do? As I always do on this podcast, I give a female equivalent so they can feel the same pain. What's your deepest, darkest fear? Oh, getting raped. Oh, really? Okay, what about you? Getting raped. All right, cool. That's how men feel when they have to pay for a child that they thought was theirs. Oh, Eureka. That's how it feels. Damn, that sucks. But they can't come to that conclusion without me giving them the female feeling first. Yep. We talk about on this podcast all the time. Many women are solipsistic. And they're not solipsistic because they're bad people or they're, incapable of empathy. No. They're biologically manufactured that way to not have emotions after they leave a man for a stronger man. Let's go down history, right? Since the beginning of time, when men conquered new lands, what happened? They would kill the men, they'd kill the fighting age boys, and they would take the women as prisoners, okay? To propagate their own society in the future. As war brides, yeah. As war brides. So what did women have to learn since the beginning of time? Well, I must acquiesce to my new conquerors. I must be able to detach myself emotionally from a man that no longer...
Alright, this is what brought me to this. Damn, man, this is another one. Hold on, bear with me real quick. Let me see if I can find that real quick. When you have slaughtered a woman's mother and father. Alright, let me see. Hold on. Now here it go right here. Alright, bear with me one moment. I'm gonna play this video again. Alright, so bear with me. Salaki.
What happened? They would kill the men, they'd kill the fighting age boys, and they would take the women as prisoners, okay? To propagate their own society in the future. As war brides, yeah. As war brides. So what...
Alright, and this is Deuteronomy 20. And yeah, Deuteronomy come on, man. Deuteronomy 20. Let me see. This shall be verse 13. Start at verse 13. It's 20 and 13. And when the Lord thy power have delivered it into thy hands, thou shalt smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword. But matter of fact, I'm going to jump up. It says, verse 10, when thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it. And it shall be, if it make thee answer of peace and open unto thee, then it shall be that all the people that is found therein shall be tributaries unto thee, and they shall serve thee. And if it will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it. And when the Lord thy power have delivered it into thy hand, this is the commandment that the Lord actually gave to the Israelites, because around this time, the Lord's ready to give us the land of Canaan, because the Lord told us to smite all the inhabitants. Going into verse 17, to smite all the inhabitants, but the towns are far off from here. You either make peace or make war with it. And this is one of the commandments. It said, thou shalt smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword, but the women and the little ones and the cattle and all that is in the city, even all the spoil thereof, thou shalt take unto thyself, and thou shalt eat the spoil of thy enemy, which the Lord thy power have given thee. Thus shalt thou do to all the cities which are very far off from thee, which are not of the cities of these nations. Now, going to verse 21, it says, 21 and 10, when thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy power hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and has a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, she shall be thy wife. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whether she will, but thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. So, that's the law of a concubine, a woman of spoil. And why this caught my attention, because when you see the society that we live in, you clearly see, starting with the so-called black woman, Eve, and the so-called Latina woman, these women are spoils to the so-called white man. And these women, they have this notion. Well, when you go to the book called, the Willie Lynch, it goes into how pretty much women, the so-called black woman, were very beneficial for economics. And when you look at how this whole notion of sexual liberation, abortion, sexual liberation, and one thing that they used was they said, let's use the so-called black woman, Eve, and let's use her low level. That's one thing they did. They try to they used. Alex Jones made a good point about that too. But pretty much what they did, they took the brokenness of our women, and they shed light to it and put it on the mainstream. And and this came about the bringing of all what you see today, the LGBTQ, all these new decrees and laws and statutes, because again, going back to these women being spoils, mainly the so-called black woman, starting with her, the so-called black woman, because you go into Gloria Steinem, Margaret Sanger, and so forth. They took our women, and they pretty much made billions and, created whole bunch of revenues and outlets of wickedness and sorcery and enchantments and wine and so forth out of our women, to the point now, the so-called black woman is completely out of order. She thinks the society's for her, and she really, when you watch this podcast, you see these women, they don't care about family. They care, they just want to be a whore. They want to be, they think they had this notion that they can become millionaires, they can get rich. They're greedy, they're selfish. They can actually believe in fairy tales, Disney World way of thinking. Then you have these little grease balls, simps, betas, that just throw them money here and there. Might throw them a couple thousands and here and there, and then they blow it on Birkins and stupidity. Some of these bitches may have kids, and again they destroy their kids and their offsprings. The scriptures talks about in Ezekiel, so as is the mother, so is the daughter. But this is Isaiah 32. Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear to my speech. Why? Because, unfortunately, our women have become careless. Why? Because they follow the notion of the lies of this society, because they're spoils. Esau basically has penetrated the minds of the so-called black woman and the so-called Latina woman on down. And now these women think, Esau is really for them. That's why not too long ago, you had the Ephraimite woman out there in Puerto Rico. They're shouting out for help for the government, so-called talking about men, putting them to death. So these women, instead of, humbling themselves and, because, again, at the end of the day, men aren't just out here killing women, putting murder and beating up and raping women. As the notion that they have you believe it. These women are being whores and sluts, and they're causing a lot of division. They're causing a lot of trauma on these kids. They're breaking up households. They're causing a lot of problems and drama. And this is just the reacting of it. When you really look at the notion of things, or a lot of reasons why things happen, it all goes back to because of a goddamn woman. And look at when you go back into who's been raising up these kids these past decades, it's been women. These women have taught these boys to be pretty much irrelevant, weak, and they taught their daughters how to be very strong. Titus 2 and 3 says, the aged women likewise that they be in behavior as becoming holiness, but the grandmother, I just saw a disturbing video on whatchamacallit, World Star Hip Hop. It was a fucking lady that was 66 years old. And the dude, like, yo, damn, grandma, how you still got all that ass? He said, and she turned around and she let the dude feel on her, man. So, hey, these women are destroyed, man. But again, due to our women being the spoils of Esau, they have been a big attribute and a good asset to the economics of Esau, to the point now they're ready to crash his system, and they're ready to leave you women dangling. So, there's no notion that you don't need a man. You could just be a whore, a porn star, OnlyFans, and so forth. Pop it open, hot girls, summer city girls, and so forth. Well, when Esau, pretty much pull the rug from underneath you, you're just going to go up in the air, and then you're just going to fall on your fucking head, because again, you broke all your bridges, these women are proud. They don't see you know, when these men are trying to tell them, what's the reality of their actions, but they don't listen. Just like we had four so-called black women come up to camp, and they just started shouting out, talking shit. We were trying to tell them, but Ciroc 30, the glory not that the image of our father has been destroyed, or fathers and so for the importance of dads and fathers and husbands, but hey, they wouldn't listen. Why? Because the so-called black women starting off with them, they are spoils of this society. Esau has penetrated them, took in their minds, and they're in complete use of Esau. The government owned the so-called black women, majority of them, and the so-called Latino and Hispanic women. But it says not false accusers, which our women are. They always shouting out, oh, men is raping and this and that and this and that and this and that. Men need to get put on. Hey, we try to bring this out. But they're not given to much wine. Hey, but the scripture talks about how many people are drunk off the wine of in the philosophies of America. Teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of Yahweh be not blasphemed. But since Esau has a hold in their minds, a woman being the spoils of Esau, everything's out of order. There's no family, there's no structure. The man's image is destroyed. They help destroy it. It's a constant bickering. Even the so-called Puerto Ricans out of her fucking mind, man. So this place is gonna be destroyed, man. The woman, like the scripture says, I don't want to make this long. That's pretty much the point. Like I said, I think that's it. But let me see if there's any more left that I wanted.
What did women have to learn since the beginning of time? Well, I must acquiesce to my new conquerors. I must be able to detach myself emotionally from...
Yep, so, the so-called black woman, for the fear, going back to slavery, for the fear of being conquered, seeing the so-called black men raped, broken in front of her, her kids destroyed in front of her, then Esau said, you know what, you want to keep things in order? Amen. Keep these men in order, We'll bring you in the house, so you don't have to go through certain things. The woman, a woman again, they get the liking of comfort, and hey, and that's what happened. The women start forgetting about what's really going on. They start forgetting about what's really going on outside and so forth. So since the women are so-called comfortable at the moment, they don't see what's going on, and they don't see what's really the narrative that they're trying to put on our people, and what damage and destruction and what has been done to our people. Why? Because the so-called black woman's whole notion is that she's part of society. She wants to be a part of it. She only has one life to live, so to speak. And hey, she's gonna be part of it. And she has, she's fence for Esau. She fights for this. She fights for this society. But hey, that's pretty much it. Lord's will, y'all were edified, and with that, Mr. Shalom.